Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2025, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences, and Well. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today, we are commemorating World Wildlife Day. On March 3rd, every year, we are celebrating and commemorating World Wildlife Day. So this year, the theme for 2025 World Wildlife Day is Wildlife Conservation Finance, Investing in People and Planet. So 50,000 world wild species meet needs of billions worldwide. More than half of the world's GDP is dependent on nature, making biodiversity loss a significant threat to financial stability. Although US dollars 143 billion is invested annually in biodiversity conservation, this falls short of the estimated US dollars 824 billion needed each year. The incalculable value of wildlife. People everywhere rely on wildlife and biodiversity-based resources to meet our needs, from food to fuel, medicines, housing, and clothing, for us to enjoy the benefits of the beauty that nature brings us and our planet. People have been working together to make sure ecosystems are able to thrive and plant and animal species are able to exist for future generations. World Wildlife Day is an opportunity to celebrate the many beautiful and varied forms of wild fauna and flora, to raise awareness of their many benefits, to remind us of the urgent need to step up the fight against wildlife crime and human-induced reduction of species which have wide-ranging economic, environmental, and social impacts. This 2025, the theme of the International Day, Wildlife Conservation Finance, Investing in People and Planet, explores how we can work together to make our current and insufficient financial flows more effective and sustainable to build a resilient future for both people and planet. With over 1 million species estimated to be threatened with extinction and facing the intensifying triple planetary crisis, innovative finance to wildlife conservation is more urgent than ever. On 28 December 2013, the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly decided to proclaim 3rd March as a World Wildlife Day to celebrate and raise awareness of the world's wild fauna and flora. The day is the day of the adoption of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna . Wild fauna and flora. The date is the day of adoption of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, in short known as CITES, CATES, in 1973, which plays an important role in ensuring that international trade does not threaten the species survival. Previously, 3rd March had been designated as World Wildlife Day in a resolution made at the 16th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to CITES COP16, held in Bangkok from 3rd to 14th March 2013. The CITES resolution was sponsored by Kingdom of Thailand, the host of CITES COP16, which transmitted the outcomes of CITES COP16 to the UN General Assembly. The Secretariat of the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES in collaboration with other relevant United Nations organizations, facilitates the implementation of Wild World Wildlife Day. So, with 183 member states, CITES remains one of the world's most powerful tools for biodiversity conservation through the regulation of trade in wild fauna and flora. One million wild plant and animal species are facing extinction. Three-quarters of the land-based environment, 85% of the wetlands, and two-thirds of oceans have been significantly and negatively altered by human activity. But we can reverse that trend. Countries around the world and the United Nations are working together to raise awareness and step up support to local communities' efforts to stop the illegal trade in wildlife. You can be part of this too. Together, let's make it our mission to bring species back from the brink and preserve and restore nature for the benefits of people and the environment. So on 20th December 2013, at the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, March 3rd was declared United Nations World Wildlife Day, in short known as WWD. This day holds significance as the day that the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, in short known as CITES, was signed in 1973. The UNGA resolution designated the CITES Secretariat as the facilitator for the global observance of this special day for the wildlife on the UN calendar. UN World Wildlife Day has now become the global annual event dedicated to wildlife. People everywhere rely on wildlife and biodiversity based resources to meet our needs, from food to fuel, medicines, housing, and clothing. For us to enjoy the benefits and beauty that nature brings us and our planet, people have been working together to make sure ecosystems are able to thrive and planet and animal species are able to exist for future generations. So let's celebrate wildlife and the important conservation work being done around the world. So, wildlife conservation, finance, investing in people and planet is the theme for the year World Wildlife Day 2025. So, let's all join together in exploring how we can work together to finance wildlife conservation more effectively and sustainably and build a resilient future for both people and the planet. Wild animals and plants, from the highland steppes to the coral reefs, are intrinsic to the intricate web of life on Earth. They sustain ecosystems, regulate natural process, and support biodiversity, providing essential services that underpin human livelihoods and contribute to the achievement of our Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Forests alone houses 60,000 tree species, 80% of amphibian species, and 75% of the bird species, while supporting over 1.6 million with natural capital in the form of food, medicine, and income. With over 1 million species estimated to be threatened with extinction and facing the intensifying triple planetary crisis, innovative finance for wildlife conservation is more urgent than ever. More than half of the world's GDP is dependent on nature, making biodiversity loss a significant threat to financial stability. For example, fisheries contribute over 10% of GDP in some countries, yet over one third of marine fish stocks are overfished, leading to unemployment, disrupted economies, and illegal harvesting practices. So, current financial flows are insufficient for governments to meet national biodiversity targets, particularly in biodiversity hotspots located in low to middle income countries. Although US dollars 143 billion is invested annually in biodiversity conservation, this falls short of the estimated 824 billion needed each year. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for an SDG stimulus of at least US dollars 500 billion to boost long-term financing for development, including nature. The Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework has revitalized efforts to halt and reverse biodiversity losses, targeting the mobilization of at least 200 billion annually for biodiversity and the elimination or reform of harmful subsidies by 2030. There is also growing interest in innovation financial approaches such as debt for nature swaps and wildlife conservation bonds, which convert national debts into conservation funds and attract private investment for wildlife protection. Payments for ecosystem service, PES, like wildlife credits generate revenue for landowners and communities managing wildlife resources. World Wildlife Day 2025 will serve as a platform to exchange and exploration of innovative financial solutions for wildlife conservation. It will also showcase financial innovations, the challenges faced by civil society, governments, organizations, and the private sector, and the collaborative approaches needed to ensure sustainable funding for biodiversity. This year, the site secretariat has partnered with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and Wild Labs, Jackson Wild, host of the World Wildlife Day Film Showcase, and the International Fund for Animal Welfare, IFAW, host of the World Wildlife Day International Youth Art Contest, to organize the high-level United Nations celebration event to take place on Monday, 3rd March 2025 at the United Nations Palais des Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, and will be live and have been live streamed on the World Wildlife Day YouTube channel. You can watch the entire session. Though it's completed, you can watch the completed session on YouTube. So World Wildlife Day is for connecting people with natural world and inspiring continued learning and action for animals beyond the day. Today is also commemorated as World Tennis Day. As we celebrate Tennis Day on the first Monday of March every year, on this day we are learning all there is to know about the interesting sport. This year it takes place on March 3rd. It started out as a handball game known as Jeu de Paume, Game of the Palm, and has transcended into one of the most popular sports in the world. This day was launched by Star Games in 2013 with the aim of encouraging participation in the sport. The sport is played by millions of people from around the world in public courts or in clubs. Tennis is a racket sport and a very popular one at that single or double team players go head to head with each other on the court until one team becomes the champion. Tennis matches can last for as short as 90 minutes or as long as few hours, depending on the conditions. The game of the tennis was not always all we know it to be today. In the 12th century, a popular game was on the rise and loved by many, including royals. Game of the palm was a popular sport that was played by the French and it laid foundation for real tennis, as it was known in Britain. Louis X of France was one of the major pioneers of the sport, so much so that by the end of 13th century, he became the first person to construct indoor tennis courts of the modern style. This new feature quickly spread across royal palaces all over Europe. The game became known as tennis in the 16th century with the introduction of rackets. It was played indoors in squash fashion where it could be hit against a wall. That version of tennis became known as real tennis because of several evolutions that have resulted in tennis we know today. The invention of the lawn mower served as a catalyst for popularity as lawn tennis and modern style courts. The first lawn tennis tournament was held in 1874 in Birmingham, 3 years before the first Wimbledon Championship and a few years before the first National American Championship. On March 4, 2013, Star Games launched the first World Tennis Day. Since then, it has been celebrated annually on the first Monday in March. Today is also commemorated as World Hearing Day, which is celebrated on March 3rd every year, is observed to raise public awareness about how to avoid deafness and hearing impairment, as well as to support ear and hearing around the world. The World Health Organization chooses the theme each year. World Health Organization, WHO, seeks to demonstrate the need for early detection and treatment for hearing loss on World Hearing Day. Many people have undiagnosed hearing problems and are unaware that they are missing out on important sounds and phrases. The first step in dealing with the problem is to assess one's hearing. World Hearing Day is an annual campaign organized by the World Health Organization's Office for the Prevention of Blindness and Deafness. There are events taking place through the world, including one on March 3rd, the World Health Organization. The campaign goals are to disseminate information and encourage people to take steps to avoid hearing loss and enhance hearing care. The day was celebrated for the first time in 2007. Before 2016, it was called International Ear Care Day. World Health Organization chooses a subject each year and prepares instructional materials and makes them publicly available in a variety of languages. It also plans and reports on events all across the world. Deaf persons and who communicate using hand signals are proud of their heritage. In 1816, deaf educator Laurent Clerc and American educator Thomas H. Gallaudet helped establish country's first permanent institution for the deaf students. The late 1850s saw a debate held in the West regarding whether to establish separate deaf state. The concept was inspired by an event in which American Congress handed the American Asylum a small section of Alabama. The deaf state was to be a place where deaf persons could move to flourish if they so deserved, but the plan failed and the argument died with it. The very first World Report on the Hearing was released in 2021 to commemorate World Hearing Day. World Health Organization hopes to reach out to national governments, global NGOs, and development organizations, along with players in the hearing care sector, to raise awareness and organize action through the global release of the report. The World Report on Hearing and World Hearing Day represents a global call to action and elevate hearing loss and ear illness. The most common cause of hearing loss is chronic ear infections left untreated. Noise is among the main preventable cause of hearing loss. A little peace and quiet. Public health efforts can help prevent over 60% of hearing loss cases concerning children with timely intervention. According to 2021 World Report on Hearing, almost one-fifth of the world's population suffer from hearing loss. The majority of people with hearing impairment do not have access to treatments according to the same 2021 report. So World Hearing Day aims to create awareness about hearing loss and inspire global action concerning preventive measures. So this is important in checking existing cases and reducing the emergence of new ones. Community involvement plays a major role in keeping hearing loss cases under control. This observance is an opportunity for the deaf community to work alongside their representative organizations, health systems, and governments to solve hearing-related issues. World Hearing Day is observed around the world. Its impact is far-reaching, and it sheds light on the dynamic nature of hearing impairment and how the global community can play a part. This week is also commemorated as Women in Aviation Week in US, celebrated during week of March 8th, and this year it will be held from March 3rd to 9th. The aviation industry consists of various activities and industries relating to aircraft and air traffic control. Most aircraft in aviation are utilized for air travel or military warfare. Women of Aviation Worldwide is a global aviation awareness week held for women and the young girls to commemorate the issuance of the first female pilot's license, which took place in 1910. WOAW is also a means to address gender discrimination in the aviation industry. Aviation history goes as far back as 2000 years. In the early days of aviation, kites, hot air balloons, and heavier than air jets were popular. Kite flying is alleged to be one of the first examples of man-made flight. During the 19th century, aeronautics was the rave. People used hot air balloons, airships, and gliders before the airplanes we know today. By 1903, advancements have been made in aviation, and by December 12, the first airplane, Kitty Hawk, took flight for about 12 seconds at 37 meters. The airplane was commanded by Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, in North Carolina. In the West, this event impacted the world of aviation as decades later, new aircraft were created to aid transportation of people, goods, and services, and later on, space flight. Up until 1910, the aviation industry was considered a male-dominated industry. Gender discrimination was glaring and women fought tooth and nail to prove their competence. Women have made significant contributions to the advancement of aviation, beginning with the first woman to fly a hot air balloon in 1754 and continuing with the first licensed female pilot in 1910. The Women of Aviation Worldwide Week commemorates the licensing of the first female pilot as a first step in addressing gender discrimination in the industry. In 2010, a pilot and aviation instructor, Marilee Goyer, launched the Fly It Forward initiative to encourage more pilots worldwide to introduce girls of all ages to aviation. Marilee used this initiative to address women's lack of aviation activity exposure. With the Fly It Forward initiative, the goal is to see more women in all facets of aviation, as hoped by pioneering female pilots. By 2011, this event evolved into Women's Aviation Week. Air India is the airline with the leading amount of female pilots in the world, which has the highest number of female pilots across the world, and also in India is Air India. The late Amelia Earhart is the most famous female pilot. She was the first solo female pilot to fly across Atlantic Ocean. About 3.4% of airplane pilots are women. So women aviators are also known as aviatrices. They have their own name. Women make up about 6.4% of the aviation industry worldwide. The African American female pilot, Bessie Coleman, received an international pilot license in 1921, who was the first international licensed female pilot. Nicknamed Mama Bird, Evelyn Stone Brand holds the Guinness record for the female pilot with the most log flying hours with 57,635.4 hours. Zara Rutherford set a Guinness record as the youngest solo female pilot in 2022, flying 199 days around the globe. So the Women of Aviation Worldwide Week seeks to encourage and empower young girls to pursue careers in aviation. They prove that it is possible to thrive this male-dominated industry. The Women of Aviation Week creates awareness of the issue of gender discrimination in the aviation industry. It speaks of the need for more women to seek out roles in the industry. Today is also commemorated as Caregiver Appreciation Day in US, which is observed on March 3rd every year. The day aims to honor, appreciate, and thank the selfless caregivers who give their time and effort to care for those in need. Caregivers cater to the people with different conditions, such as those living with disabilities, illness, and the elderly. Around 40 million caregivers provide care to 16.6% of Americans in the US. Caregivers play an essential role in providing care, and today is a reminder to recognize and celebrate all these professionals who are doing an amazing job. Caregiver Appreciation Day is observed to give recognition to the individuals who provide care services to the people who cannot care for themselves. These include the elderly, disabled, and those who are hospitalized or in need of temporary care. On this day, people in US show their appreciation for their compassionate professionals, of whom the vast majority are females. Oftentimes, caregivers put the needs of their loved ones ahead of their own, which leads to their receiving less help and then they need to stay healthy. Most caregivers are overwhelmed with giving care and coordinating care for their loved ones, forgetting about their own health. One thing to note here is the Caregiver Appreciation Days for caregivers everywhere, paid, unpaid. In fact, unpaid caregivers, such as the ones who typically care for the family member, are usually ignored. It can be a thankless job. A unique thing about this day is that different organizations and employers have different dates to celebrate this occasion. So there are nearly half a dozen caregiver appreciation days out there with different dates. But generally, it is celebrated on either of both of these dates, November 13th and March 3rd. Some organizations choose November 13th as the desired day to celebrate Caregiver Appreciation Day because November is Caregiver Appreciation Month, while most others stick with March 3rd. Today is also commemorated as Global Omega-3 Day. Omega-3s, that is O3s in short, are beneficial fatty acid nutrients found in every cell. EPA and DHA omega-3s found in marine sources play a vital role in heart, brain, and eye health and in supporting a healthy pregnancy. 80% of the people worldwide receive less than enough EPA and DHA omega-3s. On Global Omega-3 Day was created to highlight these health benefits. Global Omega-3 was established by the Global Organization for EPA and DHA Omega-3, GOED, a member organization of companies all along the EPA and DHA Omega-3 supply chain. from fisheries to finished product brands. So, nutrition science and interest in nutrients for disease prevention is a relatively recent area of study originating in the early to mid 1900s. Interest in omega 3s skyrocketed after researchers Hans Olaf Bank and John Dyberg published their landmark papers in 1970s on the high-fat diet, mainly fish and whale blubber, of indigenous Greenlanders and their remarkably low rates of heart attack. Since then, more than 50,000 published research papers have discussed the topic of EPA and omega 3s, DHA, the longer chain omega 3 fats found in fatty fish, most closely associated with numerous health benefits, and the more with 4,500 human clinical trials have been conducted. Yet most people are still not getting enough of these nutrients. That's why GOED created Global Omega 3 Day to highlight these vital nutrients and help people worldwide understand why they need more EPA and DHA omega 3. Companies, health professionals, and people worldwide are encouraged to discuss the importance of omega 3s and share how to get EPA and DHA omega 3s. There are vegetarian vegan supplements made from marine microalgae. Algae is what the fishes in the ocean feast on, build up their omega 3 levels. There are three main omega 3s: EPA, DHA, and ALA. ALA stands for alpha linolenic acid, comes from plants. ALA is an essential omega 3 because we need to get this fat from the diet. Our bodies can't make it on our own. It is found in the seeds, flax, chia, nuts, walnuts, and oils, soya bean, canola, to name a few. So you have to consume more nuts and seeds. ALA may convert to EPA and DHA in the body, but the rate at which that happens is low. EPA and DHA, eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, respectively, are omega 3s from marine sea sources. EPA and DHA are omega 3s that are most protective of the heart. Scientific evidence also supports the role of EPA and DHA for brain, eye, and prenatal health. Although omega 3s are considered vital, there is no established adequate intake or dietary reference intake in the US for EPA DHA omega 3s. Governments in other countries and a variety of expert scientific bodies around the world have set recommendations between 250 and 1000 mg of EPA and DHA per day. GOED recommends at least 500 mg EPA plus DHA per day for the overall health, more if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or have a history of heart disease. The US Food and Drug Administration (FDA) and the European Food Safety Authority (EFSA) recognizes the long-term intake of 5 grams per day of EPA plus DHA is safe. The human body tends to self-regulate if you receive more than you need. You might feel gastrointestinal discomfort, have diarrhea, or your sweat would smell odd. Fish oils, like cooking oils, they should not be near heat and light and don't last forever. Too much heat and light can lead to oxidation, which is why many supplement pills come in dark and opaque bottles. The human body can deal with some oxidation, but if your pill smells bad or past their expiration date, you should probably toss them. A quality supplement is one that not only takes manufacturing seriously, but also has ethical marketing around its product. All omega 3 supplement companies are members of GOED and have voluntarily pledged to uphold standards of quality and ethics. %80 of the people worldwide and 95% of Americans are not getting enough EPA plus DHA. Omega-3s, many health organizations worldwide recommended getting 250 to 500 mg EPA plus DHA omega-3s daily. The average American is getting only 90 to 100 mg per day. Today is also commemorated as International Ear Care Day, which creates awareness about how to prevent hearing loss and how to take care of and maintain proper health of our ears. It is an initiative of the World Health Organization. This step was also taken to provide necessary help to the people with hearing impairment and help with them lead better lives. People observe this day by raising awareness on ear care and helping those in need. In 1948, the World Health Organization was founded to oversee healthcare and medical services in countries around the world. The objective was also to prevent the spread of diseases like malaria and tuberculosis in developing countries. The headquarters of the World Health Organization is in Geneva and has about 141 officials and 6 regional offices. In 2015, the World Health Organization initiated the Make Listening Safe campaign. This campaign aimed to educate people, especially teenagers, on the dangers of listening to music at high volumes and other habitats that damage the ears. The World Health Organization offered helpful tips such as not listening to music above 85 decibels and wearing earplugs when attending a concert. And they also encouraged people to get their ears checked by a medical professional once every few months. The World Health Organization is believed to have chosen the date, March 3rd, for the International Ear Care Day, as the date 3 by 3 resembles the shape of our ears. On this day, a theme is selected, and the media, non governmental organizations, and other groups come together to raise awareness on the precautions that need to be taken for maintaining good ear health. This day is also dedicated to people with hearing impairment and their quest to improve the quality of their lives. The theme of International Ear Care Day is to hear for life, listen with care. The World Health Organization wants people to know that it is possible to have good hearing throughout one's lifespan. If good practices are followed, the World Health Organization encourages government, societies, NPOs, and corporations to do their part in raising awareness on ear health and safety and practicing safe listening. There is also commemorated as What If Cats and Dogs Had Opposable Thumbs Day. So it is annually observed on March 3rd. This day we ask ourselves a very critical question. What if the most commonly domesticated animals in our lives could mimic some of the genetics of their owners? Imagine a world in which your dog could open the doorknobs, or your cat could open a tin of tuna by herself since you are always running late. After 45 years of living with cats and dogs, American actor Tom Ray had an epiphany with whilst opening a tin can. Since all of his pets were dependent on him for all their meals, he thought to himself, how could things turn out if pets didn't need humans to turn the tin opener? Humans are superior species for a bunch of reasons, with one of their most important powers coming from the ability to form a grip with our hands. While we don't have the claws of the tiger or a trunk of elephant, we do have thumbs that make lifting things possible. Without our thumbs, we won't able to pick up a pen, turn a handle, or hold a can of soda. The opposable thumbs enable the act of skill manipulation that allows us to grip things. A gift of evolution, this innate genetic complexity places us lesions ahead of the primates. Thumbs can move independently and freely, which is luxury afforded only to the human being and monkeys. On March 3rd, we let our minds wander towards a world where our beloved parents are blessed with thumbs. Today is also commemorated as Food Waste Action Week from March 3rd to 9th, typically held in the first week of March since 2021. Food we waste were a country, it would have the third largest carbon footprint after the US and China. The good food we throw away impacts our environment and contributes to climate change. Not only do we waste food, but we also waste the valuable resources used to produce it. From the land, fertilizer, water used to grow the food to the greenhouse gases from production and transport. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, industrialization and manufacture of goods dramatically changed how Americans ate food. Food became commercialized and moved from farm to table to factory to table. Families began wasting food because it was cheaper and more accessible. Throwing away food on the street became a serious health problem. It wasn't until the early 1920s that the health officials recognized the need for proper sanitation and institute waste disposal practices. After World War II, chemical fertilizers entered the market when the government realized that excess ammonium nitrate, originally produced for explosives during the war, could be applied to crops as nitrogen fertilizer. Machinery and the development of agriculture chemicals led to an overproduction of food. The US produced so much food that in 1954, the government organized Food for Peace to export excess food to impoverished countries. In 1960, President Johnson declared the war on poverty and attempted to feed low income citizens. World War II took the US economy out of Great Depression and into a new era of prosperity. Consumption and planned adolescence were encouraged to sustain economic growth. Today, we lose or waste about a third of food product produced globally. And it's sad not only for the poor who don't have the food, but also for our environment. This is why Love Food Hate Waste started first ever Food Waste Action Week in 2021 to educate people on food waste and its impact on climate change. Food waste rots and emits methane and other greenhouse gases. These gases contribute to climate change and cause health issues related to air pollution. Luckily, with proper waste management, you can play your part in disposing of food waste in the right way. There isn't only one solution for food waste. However, we rounded up a few food waste solutions. You can implement at home, shop smart, and don't overshop. Try not to be picky eater. Get creative with scraps and leftovers. Think broth and casseroles. Only throw food away if will be unsafe to eat it, or otherwise store it, or save it, or distribute it to others who are in need of it. Know the difference between use by versus best before. Use by is about safety, that you should not eat food before this date, even if it looks or smells fine. Best before is about quality. Although food won't be a top quality after this date, but it will be still safer to eat for some time after. So plan your meals, make a meal plan for the week and write a shopping list before you shop. Plan out your portion so that only buy what you need. Take note of what you have at home before shopping. Food wastage contributes 8 to 10% of total manufactured greenhouse gases (GHG) emissions, seriously impacting climate change. If we all stop wasting bread at home in the UK for a year, it could do the same for greenhouse gas emissions as planting 5.3 million trees. Many regions throughout the US and world are working towards zero food waste. Teton Country has a waste transfer station where they collect waste and then transport it to Bourne Valley landfill over 100 miles away. Every day, the equivalent of 20 million slices of bread is thrown away in UK homes, which could feed 10 million people. There is also commemorated as National Aardvark Week in US, which is celebrated every second week of March. This week celebrates this large nocturnal member of the animal kingdom, which is predominantly found in Africa. Aardvarks have interesting features. They have ears like those of rabbits, tails like those of kangaroos, and a diet similar to an anteaters. Though they may be mistaken as close relatives of anteaters and elephants, the truth is they are not. Aardvarks eat termites and ants, which is why they are commonly mistaken as anteaters. But there is no connection between these two animals. Interestingly, aardvarks are considered special and living fossils because there is the only surviving species in the Orycteropidae family. Anteaters, on the other hand, are more closely related to sloths. Many species and organisms are dependent on the burrows dug by aardvarks, and they keep the termite and ant populations under control. In the foreseeable future, the only factor affecting aardvarks is the intense drought, which could be widespread owing to drastically changing climate. We hope more studies will be conducted to learn more about the aardvark will cope up with the changing weather patterns. This week is also commemorated as National Procrastination Week in US from March 3rd to 9th. However, to really get into the mood of observance, the date may be shifted to later week. While some procrastinations more than others, everyone has indeed done this at one point or the other in their lives. Often we find the need to sacrifice one task for the other, and this might leave us dissatisfied. Thus, on special day, we will bring things into perspective while making the right sacrifices, laying more emphasis on our mental well-being. So, with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See you all tomorrow at the same time. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form that has been raised in the form of polls.